Yes, ma'am.
Okay. Thank you. Write one question. An element crystallizes. An element crystallizes in FCC lattice. In FCC lattice with cell edge of 400 picometer. 400 picometer. The density of the element is 7 gram per centimeter cube. 7 gram per centimeter cube. How many atoms are present? How many atoms are present in 280 grams of the element? 280 grams of the element. So here the unit cell is FCC. You know that one unit cell of FCC contains 4 atoms. One unit cell of FCC contains 4 atoms. Now here a big amount is given, 280 grams. Weight is given, density is given. So you can find out the volume, means the total volume of that big substance, that you can find out. The total volume divided by the unit cell volume will give you the number of unit cells. Total volume divided by the volume of the small unit cell will give you the number of unit cell, with how many unit cells this bigger volume is made, or how many unit cells are packed to get this bigger volume. So bigger volume divided by unit cell volume will give you the number of unit cell, and each unit cell contains 4 atoms. So in that way we will be doing the calculation. Total volume of that big substance, that is mass by density. Mass is given 280 divided by density is given, that is density, what is the density? 7 gram. 7 gram per centimeter cube. So this is the total volume. Now number of unit cells, 280 gram upon 780 grams per centimeter cube. So you will be getting 40 centimeter cube. Total volume is 40 centimeter cube. So number of unit cells, number of unit cell is equal to 40 divided by volume of one unit cell. How can you find out the volume of one unit cell? Cell edge is given, that is 400 into 10 to the power minus 10 whole cube. So this is the number of unit cell. Now one unit cell contains 4 atoms. So what is the total number of atoms? That is this much, that is 40. Number of atoms is equal to number of atoms, total number of atoms. Total number of atoms is equal to this number of unit cell, that is 400 into 10 to the power minus 10 raised to 3 into 4. So you will be getting these many atoms. Okay, next we are going to the close packed structures. If you take close packed structures, if you take one piece of iron, so many atoms are packed, so many iron atoms are packed in this to make this big lump. How are these atoms packed? Is it in this way? Like one atom touching the other atom. Anyway, one atom cannot go into the other atom. Now, I am making the second row. They are packed. Is it in this way? Or if this is one layer, the other layer atoms are packed above this layer. Let's see how the packing goes. For that, we have to see first close packing in one dimension. So I am going to the first topic, that is close packing in one dimension. Close packing in one dimension is just a row. Atoms are touching each other. Now, if you consider an atom in between, for example, this atom, it is touching two atoms left and right. The number of nearest neighbors in contact, means touching, of a particle is called its coordination number. So, what is the coordination number of this atom in this line, in this row? That is 2. Coordination number of this atom is 2. So, in this case, don't consider this edge ones. Edge ones means this is again gone there. Consider the middle ones or what are present in between to get the coordination number. Means around that atom should be there. If you are selecting one sphere, one atom, one molecule, one ion or one ball, then around that atom should be there in touch. This is close packing in one dimension. Second, close packing in two dimension. Close packing in 2D. For the 2D, if I place that the above row touching each other, now this may be one type of packing in 2D. This is an inefficient packing. This is an inefficient packing. Why? Because lot of gaps are there. A better packing is in this way. Supriya, you are in class 11th. You go to class 11th. do not come here. Yours is the next period. Supriya, you are of class 11th. Can you hear me, Supriya? You leave and join class 11th. Now maths is going there, I feel. So the second row balls, your second row spheres or atoms are kept in between. In the depression of the first row. Like this, second row. In this case, second row atoms are kept right below the first row, but here the second row little bit displaced so that maximum space is utilized. Now, in this second row, when I place the second row in the depression of the first row, maximum place is utilized. This is a better packing. This is a better packing in 2 dimension. When you look at this packing, that is the second packing, what I call better packing, you see voids in between. Here also you see voids, but these voids are bigger voids. But in this second packing, the voids or the gaps or the interstices, that is smaller. In this gap, you can place similar atoms to make the second layer. Similar atoms you can place to make the second layer. So what I have made here is first layer. First layer, I will be calling it as A layer. This arrangement, this type of alignment in the 2D, this is one layer, I call it as A layer. Now I am going to construct one more layer on this A layer. If I keep the spheres or the atoms of the B layer, second layer, just above the spheres of A layer, then I will not call it as a B layer. It will be in the same alignment of A layer, but that is an inefficient packing. So, I am going to place the B layer in the depressions created or depressions or the gaps seen in the first layer. I will be making a bigger 2D. In this way, you see triangular voids. This void is a triangular void. This void, the second void, what I am showing is another triangular void. See, this is a triangular void. This is another triangular void. This is triangular void, triangular void, triangular void pointing downwards, triangular void pointing upwards. So now I am going to place the spheres of the second layer on this triangular void. Only one type of triangular void I can utilize to pack the second layer spheres or second layer balls or second layer atoms. If I use the triangular void pointing downwards, then I cannot keep balls or spheres on the triangular void pointing upwards. Suppose I am keeping the second layer on the triangular void pointing downwards. You can see this diagram. The second layer balls are marked with bold lines. The balls are kept on the triangular void pointing downwards. This is a triangular void pointing downwards. So this ball is kept on the triangular void pointing downwards. Again, this ball is kept on the triangular void pointing downwards, downwards, downwards. Here again, this ball is kept on the triangular void pointing downwards. Actually, when you keep this ball, you will not be able to see this gap. So I'll be making it as you will not be able to see that void. Now you see this red ball, all are red balls only now. This red ball is sitting on how many balls? This ball, and this ball. Means there is a gap in between these four balls. The line balls are of first layer and the shaded ball is of the second layer. All balls are similar ones, same balls only, red balls. Now there is a gap between these four balls. In that gap you can keep a small cation. Cations are smaller. Anions, these red balls, these are anions. In the case of ionic compounds, these bigger ones are anions, and in that gap, I'll show such a gap over here. This is the gap. Which is covered by this. See here what I have shown with the shaded ball. So in that gap, a small cation can be kept. Suppose if it is not an ionic compound, then in that gap, small other atoms can be kept. These are bigger atoms then. So that we see in the form of alloys. In alloys, these gaps are filled by small atoms. In the case of alloys. In the case of ionic compounds where positive and negative ions are there, anions, negative ions will make the entire crystal lattice, and the voids are filled by cations, small cations. Now look at this gap which is not seen here. That gap is, if you are looking at the gap, there is no special shape, but you can name that gap by looking at the centers of these four balls. 3 down balls and 1 upper balls. If you join the centers of these balls, you will be getting a tetrahedral shape. So this void is called a tetrahedral void. When you join the centers of these 4 balls, you will get a tetrahedron. So we call this gap between these 4 balls as a tetrahedral void. Like that you can see many tetrahedral voids. See, this is a tetrahedral void. This tetrahedral void is made by 3 balls of the second layer and 1 ball of the bottom layer. This tetrahedral void is formed by 3 balls of the bottom layer and 1 ball of the top layer. This 1 ball. I am going to shade it again. Now you will not see that gap. Similarly, This is a tetrahedral void which is constructed by 3 balls of 3 spheres or 3 atoms of the first layer and 1 atom of the 1 ball, 1 sphere of the second layer. So I have shaded some balls over there of the second layer. Between these 4 balls, the void created is called a tetrahedral void. Now, first we were talking of this void. First we were talking of this void which is created by 1 ball of the second layer and 3 balls, this 3 balls of the first layer. Now there is another type of void called octahedral void. Octahedral void, you look at this void. You look at this void. This void is made up of these 3 balls of the second layer and below 3 balls of the first layer. Second layers are shaded one, means bold ones. Second layer balls are bold ones. Okay. This 1, 2, 3, these are of second layer, and this one, that is first layer, this is of first layer, and this is of first layer. So there are 3 balls down and 3 balls up. Between them there is a void, there is a gap, there is an interstice. This interstice, this void, this gap is covered by or made by 6 balls. These 6 balls, you consider these 6 balls, and now you consider the center of these 6 balls. When you join the center of these 6 balls, you will be getting an octahedron. So we call this void, this gap, as an octahedral void. Now, you consider this ball as upper ball. I am going to shade that. This as the upper ball. And one I am going to shade, that is the down one. You consider this as the down one. Only this much portion, only this red portion you are able to see. So 2 balls are over. Now 4 balls are remaining. 4 balls. What are these 4 balls? These black shaded 2 balls, and behind them first layer balls. So black shaded balls, what I have shown, this ball and this ball. This is top. This one is top ball. This one is down bottom ball, and these 4, 1, 2, this 3, the 4, these 4 in one line. In that way you consider, so you can visualize a proper tetrahedron. You can take this ball as the top ball and this the bottom ball, In between you see 4 balls. What are these 4 balls? One is this front, one is this one, and one is this back, and this one. So these blue balls you can consider, these blue balls you can consider the corners of a square. If you join this center, its center, its center and its center, you will be getting a square. Above this square is this red ball and below the square is this down ball. So you join the centers of these 4 balls, and to that you join the center of the top, and from the center of this bottom you join to this center of these 4 balls, blue balls. So you will be getting an octahedron. So we call this void as an octahedral void. An octahedral void. So 2 types of voids you can see, an octahedral void and a tetrahedral void. An octahedral void is bigger than a tetrahedral void. This is the tetrahedral void. This is the tetrahedral void, but this is the octahedral void. 2 types of voids you can visualize, a tetrahedral void and an octahedral void. Okay, thank you. We'll continue in the next class.